Welcome to the Biz Gone Social podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
So here we are on the Biz Gone Social podcast, and I'm so glad to be here. And my promise to you is I want to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that's going to energize your business and help you with your social media marketing and help you stay social. So after all, don't you want to be the business that everyone's talking about? I know I do. And I am so stoked today to have a very special expert with us, Tim Fitzpatrick. Welcome, Tim.
Lorraine, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So why don't you tell my audience a little bit about your business and what you do?
Sure. So I'm a marketing consultant and an outsourced or fractional chief marketing officer. I help B2B professional service firms that need a marketing leader to accelerate growth without the full-time costs. So we help them remove those revenue roadblocks that are in their way by focusing on what I see as three critical areas of marketing: strategy, which I think of like fuel; planning, where we're outlining the marketing vehicles that you're going to use; and then leadership, where we jump into the driver's seat to make sure those vehicles get where they need to go, or we will guide, coach, mentor the owner so that they feel confident in overseeing their marketing efforts. So that's super short and sweet, what I do.
What do you think when you're thinking about those three things that you talked about, strategy especially? What do you think people mostly are missing when it comes to strategy, when it comes to their marketing?
Yeah, I think the two biggest roadblocks with strategy are your target market and understanding who your ideal clients are. Far too many people target way too broad. We need to narrow it down. And the second is their marketing message, right? And you cannot create a message that's going to attract and engage people until you really first understand who the hell you're trying to reach, right? So everything starts from that target market and who your ideal clients are within that market. You know, a lot of people, you say, well, who do you work with? Well, I work with small business owners. Man, it's just too broad. When you start to think about small business owners, I mean, they're everywhere. Like, how do you narrow down and really determine where you're going to target? And how are you going to create a message that's going to resonate with every small business owner? It's just not. So we've really got to narrow down and hone in on, out of those small business owners, who are our ideal clients, right? So for example, we work with a CPA and a tax advisor. And when we started working with her, she was working with a variety of clients. And we started to break it down, and we said, I call these the three power questions. Who do you love working with? Who are your most profitable clients? And who do you get great results for? If you can work with those types of people day in, day out, how much, your business would be a dream. So why not target those people? Well, when we asked those questions and we started digging deeper, she realized that for her, those people were vets, veterinary practice owners. And she started to target vets. Heck of a lot easier to start to create a list of where vets are compared to small business owners. The list is just too freaking large. Even with vets, it's a large list. I call this list the ideal client GPS, right? It helps you find your ideal clients. Where can I go to market to get in front of my ideal clients? Well, when she narrowed it down to vets, we created a list. It's like a 30-page document. But it gives her a very targeted list of, okay, if I go to these places, I'm going to get in front of vets. I am fishing where the fish are. Much more targeted marketing. And now she can start to understand, because guess what? Some of the challenges for vets are different than small business owners as a whole. Right? They have their own language, their own terminology. And as she digs deeper into that market, she understands them much, much better. And then she can start to create a message that's going to attract and engage those people.
Yeah, you said something that has been intriguing to me for a very long time, and I'll tell you why. One time somebody said to me, "Oh, you should niche down into, this or that. You shouldn't, you're going way too big." And I was told that. And I know that through talking with other like business owners and especially entrepreneurs and online marketers, they'll say they're too scared to, like, they feel like they're not going to have enough clients. And so I love the fact about digging down deeper into your target market. In your experience with digging deeper and going like with vets or going with personal trainers or going with real estate, whatever they're going to go with. Yeah. Do you honestly, with everybody that you've ever worked with and everybody that have told you about their successes, do you feel that it is a good way to go? Is for a company or for an online market, especially online marketing or a small business that works with B2B?
Yeah, I think there are a couple things to consider here. When we say like niche down and focus, that doesn't mean that like that's where you're going to be forever. It just means you're making a decision now, because as small business owners, we can't target broadly. It costs far too much money. And even large companies, Fortune 500 companies, they got large budgets. They're still not targeting broadly. They're creating campaigns that are targeting very narrow, right? It may seem that they're targeting broadly because they do reach a lot of people, but their campaigns are targeted very narrowly. So it's just for now, because you can't, if you try to focus on too many things, you lose sight, right? And it becomes far too difficult. I think the narrower the problem you solve, the wider an audience you can target, right? But the wider the problem, the narrower you need to go. I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb. But you need to make choices with your marketing, because you cannot target broadly. So niche for now, make a choice based on the data that you have, right? The 3 power questions, I think, is the best place to start for people that have been in business for a while and have past clients and current clients that they can pull from. And focus for now. It will be so much easier. I had a conversation with the guy, this was probably a month or 2 ago, in the managed service provider space. And they went very narrow with the service offering that they're not going to work with Microsoft Cloud and all the other cloud. They only work with Amazon Web Services. That's it. They are an Amazon Web Services security and IT specialist. That's it. So pretty narrow problem, right? Very narrow there. They're targeting a little bit more broadly with their clients because of how narrow they've gone with the specific tool set that they work with. But he said to me, he's like, "Tim, the minute we focused, life became so much easier, because we didn't have all these other things that we had to worry about."
Yeah.
Focus brings clarity. Clarity allows you to outline what your priorities are. And when we have those things in place, man, our stress goes way down. Because all of a sudden, you see it too, Lorraine, like there's information overload with marketing. There's all this information coming at us. You need to have a podcast. You need to have a website. You need to have a YouTube channel. And it's like, oh my God, like there's so many things coming at us. And when we don't even have a plan that outlines our priorities and gives us clarity, it's so easy to just be like a squirrel trying to chase a nut, right? Yeah, and you're absolutely never going to get traction that way. So we've got to focus for now, really understand the ideal clients that you want to work with. And once you understand them, then you can create a message. And those 2 things are huge fuel for the marketing vehicles that you choose to use. Too many of us choose the vehicles and start using the vehicles and they have no fuel, right? So we're pushing these things down the road And I'm not saying you can't get some traction that way. You can. Look, there's plenty of examples of people that don't really have the fuel and they still get some traction, but it's not a way to build a consistent, repeatable marketing engine. You're going to hit a ceiling. You're going to run into problems if you don't have the fuel in place first.
Absolutely. This reminds me of a story, and this is when I first started my business. I was invited to a seminar, and the people, they were coaches, and they were selling their heart sailing program or something like that. And interestingly enough, I guess I was targeted, so that's why I went. I was offered a free ticket, and I went. But I had just bought a huge coaching program with a private coach. So I already was determined that I wasn't going to spend any money. And I've been to tons of these things, and I'm in this room, and every single person in there was a coach. And they knew all the pain points. They knew, that a lot of people were going to have problems with their messaging and couldn't even really explain what they did. And one of the exercises they gave us is meet somebody new. This was before, we got into the room, meet somebody new and ask them what they do. And I asked this one lady, and all of a sudden she went, I do this, and I help people understand this. She's moving her hand. And by the time I finished, I had no idea what she did.
You were totally confused.
And interesting, a few other people, and I realized, one of the things I realized right away, is like, I'm doing pretty good. I had my message pretty down. I knew what I do. I know what I do, but I never saw this in my whole entire life. There were about 300-400 people in that room, and they pretty much sold to the whole room. Everybody bought. And it was because what I realized is they were hitting all the pain points that people have when they have their coaching business. Because, like, for instance, if you go through like a coaching program or whatever, they don't tell you how to market your business. They teach you how to coach. They teach you what to listen to, but they don't teach you, nobody teaches you really how to do business. So it was very interesting. I just thought you'd find that pretty interesting yourself, is that your theory, which is not a theory, it's proven, is that if you reach out to a particular group of people and that's your whole target, and you know their pain points and you know how to solve their problems, they're going to buy from you, or you're going to get them to have a client.
Yes.
So
that's a perfect example, right? The pain points are what grab people's attention and bring them in, right? We are more motivated by alleviating pain than gaining pleasure or benefit, right? And they knew the exact pain points of everyone in that room.
And that takes research. A lot of people don't realize that they have to, everybody. I remember when I first started out, one of my coaches said to me, hey, don't go with what you think it is, go with what they think it is. And to do that, you have to do research. And what people do is they every once in a while, I have to have a little, it's not really a fight with a client, but we disagree.
Yeah.
And I tell this one client all the time, you're not reaching who you need to reach with this, but she will not change her message. And it's like, but it's not reaching anybody. So I totally this is really very interesting. So a lot of people who are listening to this podcast right now are literally, they're business owners, they're starting up. What's the best, what do you think for you? What is the best thing that you like about being in business for yourself and doing business with other companies and corporations?
Oh man, that's a loaded question, Lorraine. I think for me, it's just being able to do my own thing and, be me and be true to myself and just carve my own path. I think once you get that bug, it's really hard to go back. And I think, I don't know, years ago, right, people would get out of college and was like, oh yeah, you should work for somebody and, get this stable job. And, the reality is anymore, there is no stability, right? I don't care what size company you work for. There is no stability, and they're just a lot of companies are just trying to get as much output from every person they have as possible. And that's it, And I actually saw, I was reading a story yesterday of a guy who he was high up in corporate, he was doing a great job. He had grown his particular division from nothing to $30 million in revenue. And he had been doing some of his own stuff on the side, and the company wouldn't allow him to do it anymore. And they were like, you can't do this anymore. And then the following day, they actually laid him off. And so here's a guy who's worked for this company for, I don't know, it was like 9-10 years, did a fantastic job, and they just let him go. And so it's like, man, if that is always out there, wouldn't you rather just take that risk yourself and build something that's your own? Now, even when you're doing your own thing, you still answer to people, right? We all have clients, our clients, direct us in certain ways sometimes, right? We need to answer to people, but man, I'd much rather carve my own path than, work for somebody else and help them carve their path.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the company probably did that guy a favor. He probably went out on his own and is doing great.
Yeah.
My last thing, I always ask all my guests this, is if you were to give one piece of advice to somebody starting out or, in business, but kind of feeling like they're not doing well right now, what would that one piece of advice be?
Oh man, there's a couple things popping in my head, but from a marketing standpoint, I would say go back to these fundamentals that we started to touch on today. Target market, your messaging, because everything else you do is reliant on that. And if you don't have that in place, you're gonna struggle because of that. From an overall business standpoint, one of the best pieces of advice that I have ever been given was just focus on the next measurable step. So easy for us to get overwhelmed with all the things we have to do as business owners. Break all these things down into what's the next measurable step, that small step that I can take and take it. And once you take that one, then you identify the next one and the next one and then the next one. It eliminates that overwhelm of, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff to no, what's the next measurable step? Do it, gets you taking actions, helps you start to build momentum, and you just keep identifying the next step, the next step, the next step. So I hope that helps.
No, it does. Thank you so much. I want to thank you for being a guest. If somebody resonated with you today, how would they get in touch with you, or how, where would you like them to reach out to you to? Yeah,
there's two places. One is our website, rialtomarketing.com. That's RIALTO marketing.com. The second is a free scorecard that I'll make available to your audience. And that is at revenueroadblockscorecard.com. At revenueroadblockscorecard.com, you can discover and assess which of the 9 revenue roadblocks is slowing down your growth. We touched on the first 2 today, briefly, target market and messaging. Less than 5 minutes, you'll discover it. You get a customized report. So head on over. There's tons of value there. revenueroadblockscorecard.com. So those are the 2 places.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And everyone out there, until next week, I will see you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram at Biz Gone Social for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.